Well, welcome to today's episode. Maybe not a tale of two cities, but certainly a tale of two weathers. It's been filmed over 2 days and it shows you the different weather conditions in the Lake District. So where are we? Well, I'll tell you. Well, where we are exactly, we're along Mosedale in the Northern Lakes, coming across towards Esgate Newmarket and Colbeck, and I'm sat at the bottom of the Mosedale Valley. I'm actually sat at the Quaker Meeting Chapel. So Mosedale, what's a bit of history about Mosedale? Well, originally it was Grisdare, going way back, which means basically Valley of the Pigs, or possibly Valley of the Wild Boar. So where does the Mung come from? Well, it has to be religious, hasn't it? And the church along here, the Church of St Kentigern, I think I've pronounced that right. Or in other words, another name for him was Mungo. And he was a 6th century monk who became a bishop of Glasgow, and it looks like he was patron saint for the original Chapel of Ease here. So you get Mung Grisdale. There's a bit of a cult about him in the 12th century, long after he died. But where I'm sat now, in this lovely garden, getting bit by some rather nasty antisocial flies, is actually the Quaker Meeting House, which dates back to about 1701. Now, the Quakers obviously have a connection with East Lancashire because George Fox, sort of like the founding father of the Quakers, he reckoned to have been inspired when he climbed Pendle Hill, and reckoned to have had a vision which inspired him. So he started the Quaker movement, and in 1653 he visited Mosedale and sort of spread his teachings here, if you will, and it took off. Quakerism took off everywhere. It's surprising how many industrialists were actually originally Quakers when we go back to the early 1800s round Rossendale and East Lancashire and Burnley. Now, when George Fox came and gave that meeting in Mosedale, he stayed with a guy by the name of John Slee. Now this, where I'm sat now, the chapel, I don't know if this was John Slee's house, but later it was the house of George Pickering, certainly. And in 1701, was it 1701? They turned it, or extended it and made it fit for meetings. Either 1701 or 1702, it's over the doorpost anyway, we'll have a look in a minute. And they extended it so that they could use it as a proper Quaker meeting place. And later on, about 1739, it was actually given over to the Quaker congregation. So a little bit of history at the bottom of the Mosedale Valley. So let's get back up the valley and get back into what we do best, which is looking at mining history. As we're going up, looking right on the top there of the fell, and there's Lingy's hut, which is a bit of a bothy. You can spend the night there. And I remember, how long ago was it now? We came up with the kids when Sam and George were young, and we had cookers that were made out of Coke cans, and we were going to cook up wrestlers' hamburgers. And I remember it was a heck of a walk up there, and the weather was absolutely foul. Well, there's a place to spend the night. Lingy's hut, right on top of the fell. And this is a very famous mine in this country because of what it actually produced. Now, my expertise, as you know, is coal, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in anything to do with the mineral mines, but I thought you'd love to come and have a look, and Simon really showed me around. So what you're going to see today is footage from a couple of weeks ago when it was horrendous weather and we're going underground, and also I'm going to give you a bit of commentary on what I do know and what I do understand. Well, this is very famous because it's one of the only tungsten mines, Wolfram tungsten, to be found outside of Cornwall. And there's very few of them in this country altogether. What was tungsten used for? Well, we'll find out as we go along. So let's have a wander up the pit road. It's very busy here today, so we'll do the best we can and we'll get Desi up for some fantastic scenery. So here we are on site, and where I'm actually sat is the old loco shed. You can still see the rails on the floor, and as you can see, there's very little left. In fact, when the mine closed in 1982 for the final time, everything, and I mean everything, was more or less cleared with great haste. A bit like saying, it's gone now and there's no way you're ever coming back. So I suppose it is a sensitive subject, mining in the Lake District, but we do need precious minerals, so maybe we're better off just concentrating on getting the minerals from kids in the Congo and keep the Lake District so it's really nice, eh? So that I've got a bit of conflicting information really from different sources. Like I said, I'm no expert on the mineral mines, but according to Shaw, who's certainly somebody we really have to listen to because he actually worked in the industry and he lived at the time, he says that a guy named Emerson was here in around about 1854. And he was looking at the time for lead and copper because, like I said, there's Lingy's Hooked up on the fell. The other side of there, we've got the Colbeck Fells that are full of minerals and was well worked. So they were a little bit late coming down here. And we've got the Beck, so that would have exposed any mineral veins. So at first, Emerson was actually looking for lead and for copper. And though he found Wolfram, it was of no use. So it was just hired away, chucked over the tip kind of thing. Now, according to Shaw, Emerson didn't do a great deal of work here. He had a crushing mill, and the water wheel that was used to drive that crushing mill was later dismantled and taken over to Colbeck Bobbin Mill and used there. Now, Shaw says that another syndicate came in 1868, again to work the lead workings, but other sources just say Emerson was here in 1870. Warren will know, I should have asked him first, but there's no sign now of Emerson's old workings. Everything has been tipped over and reused for Wolfram. And of course, they didn't know the value of Wolfram in those days, so it was just thrown over the tip edge. It was discarded, and the Wolfram veins weren't attacked at all. They weren't worked. So tungsten, what is it? Well, it's really Wolfram, and which chemical element is WO3. It's Wolfram, and there's also scheelite here, and the word scheelite comes from the guy, he didn't discover it as such, but anyway, he was a Scandinavian guy, so that is what you get the tungsten out of. Now they came back around about 1901 when they were getting the idea of what this mineral was really valuable for, and the British were behind the times. It was a German company that really understood what was here. And as we know, the Germans about that time under Kaiser Wilhelm were rearming, weren't they? They wanted to take on, or build an empire to rival the British Empire, if I can remember my history well. And they were mining Wolfram to make tungsten here and sending it back across the Ruhr, where it was being used in the armaments industry, and it's used to strengthen metals. Tungsten carbide, those of us at the pit with the shearer blades, well, they're tungsten carbide tipped. It was to strengthen metals, so if you sprinkle a little bit of that into the steel and it really hardens it. The Germans knew all about it, they were ahead of the time, the Brits were behind the time. And as Ian Tyler likes to point out, a lot of stuff that was mined here and turned into armaments landed back on British soil, if you will, on the Western Front, fired from the various ordnance on the German side. And obviously that was a situation that wasn't going to last very long, and it didn't, and it came back into sort of Allied hands, if you will. But after the war, the demand for tungsten died out, and the mine sort of closed. And that was it really, until war sort of ravaged across Europe and the world in the 1940s, when there was a need for tungsten again. And the Ministry of Supply turned their attention here, and a lot of exploration work was done starting around about 1942, using, believe it or not, Canadian sappers. So this level, they drove this level, which gets known as the Canadian crosscut, and it intersects at least 3 of the tungsten bearing veins. Now, it was driven by a load of Canadian sappers, some Spaniards and also some prisoners of war, and they found vast reserves of tungsten, but as always happens, the price of tungsten, and well, not the price of, but they gained access from other sources to the tungsten market again, and supplies of tungsten were coming into the country, so they didn't need to work this, and so that was it. The reserves had been proved, but they weren't going to be worked for the time being. It wasn't till the 1970s that these were then accessed again and worked with vigour. When they started again in the mid to late 70s, a whole new plant was built and a new mill was built the other side of where you'll have seen the loco sheds there. Now the Wolfram and the scheelite is found amongst a quartz matrix. Well, it's found in a quartz vein, as you'll see as we're getting in. And apparently at its thickest, or its widest, it was between 4 to 5 feet, but it wasn't always like that. It was, as you'll see when we go in there. Now the return on it was 1%. So if you had a ton of rock, well, you got about £22 worth of Wolfram out of that. Now that mightn't seem much. Now also in here, there's arsenic as well. And one of the lads that used to work here, he was talking on the radio, and he talked about them when they drilled in, because they used compressed air rock drills here, when they drilled into the arsenic, so you could smell it, and then it would come down the drill steel towards where the chuck was on the machine, and they sort of shut their eyes and it hit that and go everywhere, and obviously make them even more filthier than there was, and it had apparently an absolutely awful smell to it as well. But come 1982, and again the international markets had changed and they couldn't make a go of things, so the mine sadly stuttered to a halt, and as soon as it was closed, well, the Lake District sort of, the place was cleared. Like I said before, it's like you're not coming back. And just to indicate a little bit on that point, during the Korean War in the 1950s, they did look at reopening this as a supply because the reserves had been proven, but they didn't, because they wanted to keep the Lake District as it was. Now that was during wartime, when British troops were involved. So anyway, as you come up today, you'll see the site, and we're going to go underground, and I'll explain a few different things to you, a few more technicalities as we go underground. So I hope you do enjoy this.
Here. Surprised someone's looted it, to be honest. The top of it.
Like quartz vein. You look at that?
And that's why they want to get it to the school.
Previous, I goes into the older mine. It's locked up, and it's not worth going down there.
No.
Yeah, no.
No, we've been down there.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, and it's just you get the big sweat.
It's
You can actually see the lines, the trains, and they follow. You'll see them more pronounced on the right side there as well. Yeah. Can you see the drill? Yeah.
The air quality is still good around here, because we've got a few gas alarms we went down on, so
This way. It seems. So that they abandoned this. That's as far as they went. Yeah. I'll go down the other one.
yeah, there's something going forward, isn't there?
Yeah. So that's the working levels up there.
Yeah, a pain in the arse to get up there, but we did manage it.
Oh, you can get up there, but these are the hoppers. And obviously the air would be used to force through, because obviously the dust, the silica dust from the quartz when they mined it was quite dangerous.
Yeah, that's all that.
See, could have broken it up, and obviously it would have come down.
So yeah, you can get up to the upper level, but what we had to do is we had to get a ladder. We deploy all this way through, which is a real pain in the beginning section, where you're basically crawling in it. And then there's this.
It's like grey sludge, but
Yeah.
it's a mixture of the quartz and the thing which gives it this grey appearance.
And we had to drag it all the way down here, and we had to push the ladder up into this position, and then because it's actually goes up quite tall, what we had to keep on doing is we would climb up the ladder, get to the next section, pull the ladder up with us, climb up to the next section. It was such a good fun. I think there was a previous ladder there that was kind of hodgepodgey that some people have.
Yeah.
You go to the next section?
Sorry, Jeff. I'm just making sure it stays above the welly.
Yeah, if you look, you can see where there's
So if you go up there,
we didn't go up here.
yeah, we did go up here, and on the left-hand side there is a shaft with iron loops. So obviously they were hauling stuff up and down there.
I think it was a different section, wasn't it? Deeper?
On the other side, the other thing. But there's two main corridors. We're in the first one, and then obviously the second one. It's better on your feet. What? Yeah, well, I think most people are like.
I'm impressed with the levels people do.
So I think once they cleared this bit, they would move the hoppers down there. Yeah, because this is exhausted as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Smith, we're at this junction here.
There, right.
Smith Vein North.
Right, so we've been along there.
Yeah, all the way along there. Okay, Smith Vein East.
So it looks like the Harding veins are most extensive.
Yeah, if we go this way, that's what I'm saying, is that this doesn't really lead anywhere. Okay.
Is Harding vein then, Simon? This is Harding vein then, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to get wet, I think. I'm going to get wet in wet ones. Oh, it's going to be cold. In we go. Fix it. You only get wet ones, Simon.
That's alright, I don't know.
You've got into doing a cold plunge, it's leaving cold on the legs. That's how deep we're at. What have we got here? A powder magazine. Is there a powder magazine there?
Sorry?
Was that a powder magazine?
Yeah, that was the old private magazine. And what
Yeah.
it had an explosive reserve store on it, and they took the door. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right or left, really, but I'll stick to the right.
I think we stick to the right, I think.
Yeah. But that was where the powder store is. That's where all those photos are taken with the door, and they came one weekend, smashed the lock in, and took it.
What for?
Because it's scrap metal.
Oh, great.
So there'll be a scrap metal dealer somewhere who's got that door. It wasn't quite as honest as he was supposed to be.
The wellies.
See how high it goes up.
There's nothing further down there, ain't
Well,
it? Bad
it
breathing.
just goes down to the left, and there's collapses.
Yeah. The design kind of dates. So the design of the guns, it kind of dates it a bit, doesn't it?
Well, it takes a lot of the process. And all the walls are dripping down. Yeah. I'll show you what's above. So, just going up this one ladder and across, and then you'll see what's above the hoppers and how tall it is. Heavy boots. Obviously you can see the state of them now. Yeah. And you can actually see what's above the hoppers here. So I would have taken it through, but you can actually see. And these are the hoppers themselves. So, yeah.
Shine your light up there a bit, Simon.
What?
Shine your light up there a little
Yeah.
bit, if you would, please.
And if it's probably there,
Yeah.
you could breach it
Yeah, you
and
can get
carry
across,
on
yeah.
and then get down in there, but I suspect very much because there's no airflow. Yeah. The Jake said he felt air at the top of the topmost rung of this. So there is definite airflow, and it does go
Something.
You might be able to take a photo, you might be able to enhance the letters.
And it's lovely out here, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's have a look it up.
How deep did it go? Kind of went that deep. Well, that was a good trip anyway. Lovely. Brilliant that, Simon. Yeah. Empty the wellies. These are what do you call it? They're warm in winter. They're not quite muck boots, they're the one down.
Yeah, the one down, yeah. But they're great. Yeah.
Yeah, they're heavy at the best of times. Well, the old water,
Yep.
better than some of my theories do.
They hold the water.
Sunny Colbeck.
Sunny Colbeck. what's this gill called anyway? The kids playing out up there anyway still.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed our little video today. This place is a real pull when the sun's out for people swimming. It's a lovely part of the Lake District, but for the more discerning people. So thanks for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, maybe even buy us a coffee. Thanks to Jake, thanks to Simon for coming all the way up and showing us around Carrock. And as per usual, we'll catch you next time.